I know other women that I've talked to in sports that have gone on maternity leave, that have come back and their jobs are not there. I know several women that have had that happen.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Sheroic podcast. I'm Lisa.
And I'm Cassey.
And today we have an incredible guest sitting right next to us, Miss Jenn Brown, or Mrs. Jenn Brown. And I've got to read off, I'm going to cheat a little, and I'm going to read off. I've written them down because you have so many, incredible things that I was like, I know I'm going to forget, so I've written them down.
Are you going to embarrass me right now?
I am going to embarrass you just a little. So you applied to 17 law schools to become a sports entertainment lawyer, but then decided to take a job as a hosting travel show and moved to Los Angeles, where you decided to swim with sharks, hang glide over beaches in Brazil, swim with alligators in the Everglades, met with the KGB in Russia, ran a 5K in Barcelona. I mean, literally, your list is so incredible. I was like, I don't know which ones to pick to actually say, but mind blown.
When I hear those, I'm surprised I'm still alive in some of those things that I did.
You became the first ever female correspondent on Inside the NFL on Showtime Sports, then spent 8 years working for ESPN. You're a two-time Emmy Award winner. In 2002, you co-founded the Carrie Brown Foundation, which was in honor of your sister who was tragically killed in a car accident at the age of 14. The foundation now gives grants and scholarships to children in need, which, wow, that completely touched my heart, which we'll definitely dive into. Sure. And now you're a mum of two, you're a beautiful wife, and now you're a confessed mummy blogger? Is that what?
Yeah. I mean, that's what happens, right? When you have babies. So, yeah, I guess that's
I had to write it down because it was so amazing. I didn't want to miss a beat. But man, where do we start, Cassey?
I'm not sure.
So let's start with maybe you go to school or you apply for law school and then you become a host.
Yes.
So talk to us about that.
Yeah, I had I still work in television. I am doing the mom stuff, but I still am in sports television. But yeah, I had no plan to be in sports television, interestingly enough. I had never aspired to be on TV. I just was that chatty kid that, I was the one that had my name on the board and then would get the check and then the note almost would go home because I talked too much. Oh. So I guess it makes sense that this is what I do. But yeah, I grew up around sports my whole life. My parents were Olympic gymnastics coaches. At one point when they were at the height of their career, we had gymnasts that would leave their homes and come and live with us and to train with my parents when they were young too, because, it's a sport where you kind of start young because younger, smaller,
build the flexibility.
And so I was around sports my whole life, and I played sports in high school, 7 sports in high school. I played sports in college, and so I wanted to be a lawyer, and so I worked for a law firm during the summer, and then I was like, I think this was the time during we talked about Jerry Maguire, right? When Jerry Maguire, I was like, I want to be Jerry Maguire, because I was around gymnasts, I was around athletes, I played softball in college, and so I thought I was going to go to law school to be a sports agent. And interestingly enough, I took a year off and between going from when I graduated, because I played softball in college for 4 years. And so then I did that. I was doing a thesis, so I didn't really have time to apply to law schools because I had to do the LSAT. And I wanted to do well on the LSAT because you want to do that to get to a good school. So I took a year off, and in that year off, while I was doing the LSAT and applying to law schools, I ended up doing fitness modeling for Under Armour. Okay,
how do you end up doing
that? So, and they weren't even Under Armour at this time. They were just starting. They were a newer company, and it was just an opportunity that came about through a little agency in Orlando. They were doing a show in Orlando, a trade show, and they needed a fitnessy girl, and so I did that. And then from that, they're like, "Hey, would you be interested in doing some photo shoots for us?" So I became the first Under Armour model back in the day, which was really cool. Because now I'm this small company I'm sure nobody's ever heard of. But so that kind of started me doing a little bit of stuff in Orlando, and then just ended up on this travel show where they needed a girl, and they were like, "Does anyone want to lead us into the next segment?" And I was like, I like to talk. I have no idea what that means, what you just said, but sure. And then by the end of that, like 5 days of filming in Miami, they were like, hey, I think you'd be great for this travel show we're casting. How would you like to move to LA and host it? And I was like, yeah, that's great. I'm on my way to law school though. And they're like, no. Like you seem to have your act together. Just think about it. And then they followed up with me, and it just kind of became this opportunity where I was like, you know what? I think like this should be something I should do, and I can always go back to law school. My mom flew out as my momager and like negotiated my contract, and that, you know, the rest you could say that was for a company called Bennett Productions, and I worked for them for many years. And then I found my way to sports, and, you know, but I traveled around and got to do some really fun, cool things. I know you were just in Bora Bora and almost swam with sharks, kind of a little bit.
Not meaning to. The sharks always ate me, if that's what you mean.
Oh my God.
But yeah, it's so great. And what was really neat about it is I got to learn the ins and outs of the television business, because I got to learn from like do behind the scenes editing, all of the things that go into it. And I think it was a really valuable learning experience to really understand what goes into it, and also to give me more of an appreciation of the entire business. And I think that, you know, led to, you know, some of the success that I've had thus far.
So for you, it's literally just taking the plunge and going, well, I've at least got this to fall back on. Because you know, we talk all the time about opportunities that come that people are so scared to take because they're in their own minds and they're like, oh, but I've studied, or this has been my dream. I don't want to let it go. My parents are going to be disappointed. You've spoken very openly about, you know, your parents, and, you know, same with me, not necessarily being encouraging to go down a certain path.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah, that's a great way to put it, because that was a leap. I mean, I really didn't think about it until how big of a deal that was for me to make that, until you just actually brought it up. I mean, and now I think about it, like, I guess, you know, I hadn't gotten any of my, so I tell a story, like my law school acceptance or non-acceptance letters are still in my mom's, like my bedroom in my closet, because I left to go start filming the travel show before I was getting any of the acceptance letters back.
Oh, wow.
So of those 17 law schools, I'm like, I could have gotten into Harvard Law. Like, I don't think I did. I did apply there, but I don't think I got it.
So have you opened these
No,
letters?
they're still in my
gosh,
mom's.
you gotta
I
open the letters.
But here's the thing, it's become this great story. It's so also,
but
you know what I
everyone needs to
think?
write to Jenn Brown right now and tell her to open those letters.
You know when I think I'm going to open them is maybe when my kids get like when they are going to go through that process of applying to schools.
So
like
you have
maybe
that
that would be a thing to sit down with them and say, hey, look, you know, mommy, you know, don't be disappointed. Look, mommy didn't get into Stanford or whatever the school said.
What if you do?
I got it. And then I'm like, hey, is it still good? Can I get into Harvard Law? Does this acceptance still work? Maybe I want to go back. No,
Expiry date.
Right? I know. You know, it was just something. And so, yeah, it was a big jump, though, to go back to that, to take that leap, to go completely and deviate from what I had been planning and thinking I was going to do. I was a criminology major. I was on my way to law school. I did a thesis, you know, like everything was, you know, centered around that plan. But it was just taking a look at an opportunity, being scared as, you know, all heck, and saying, you know what, why not, right? And so, you know, I did have the support of my mom. You know, my mom was a little, she was definitely a little, you know, she's like, let's go, I'm going to fly out there and check this out. Let's see really if this is a real, and she was like my agent, because I didn't have an agent at the time, and she negotiated my deal. She got them to pay to move me out there. She, you know, and like, so she did it. And it was just a thing, it was one of those opportunities where we said, you know what? Let's do it. Let's try it. And, you know, I still laugh. I do at times think about law school. I still think it's something, you know, my dream job would be like 48 hours. Like, I love watching all of those shows. So crime is still something I'm interested in. But, you know, I love what I do. And I, you know, I've got one of the best jobs in the world. And so I think I made
that door, though. You're like, maybe one day.
Maybe, yeah. Wes, my husband, and I, we've talked about it. He's, you know, because he sees me watching like all these true crime shows.
I love true crime. I listen to it when I'm doing my makeup, when I'm in the car.
I'm right there with you.
Like, the weird thing about me is I can't see people killing each other. Like, it makes me like basically just die inside. But I can listen to it in excruciating detail.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's super weird.
So like, you know, there's some podcasts that have like some interesting true crime.
I just listened to the whole like Black Dahlia series on Hollywood and crime, and they do reenactments. It's great. There's like sound effects and stuff. I love it.
But you can't watch it.
I cannot watch it. I can do
I can
documentaries,
understand
though,
that.
but I can't, like Hunger Games, I can't do it.
Oh, I won't tell Wes.
Yeah, but I did watch Hunger Games, but with my hands in front of my eyes the entire time.
Isn't it funny when you watch things through your fingers, it
Yeah.
makes it less scary? I've thought about that at times. I do that with horror movies sometimes.
It's like a protective barrier for your eyes, kind of.
Oh, you can always close it if you need to.
If you need
but like
to.
makes it. I've always thought about it. That's weird. I'm like, why do I feel like I can watch it through this way?
But it's interesting because you're such a visual person. Like, you're so creative visually that I wonder if there's that part of your brain that, like, emotion and visuals are connected.
I know exactly what it is. Because it's so visually stimulating, I actually start feeling the pain that the character's going through. Whereas if I just hear audio, then I can just imagine the pain, so it's less painful.
Oh, that makes sense. Like when you, because I always, I don't know if this goes down that road, but like people are like, oh, have you, intend to like watching a movie or reading the book? And I'm always like, I'm always been disappointed when I watch a movie after I read the book because it doesn't match up with what I, you know what I mean? So I feel like it's that kind of thing. It gives you the opportunity when you hear it, you're creating like
your
what you
own
think it is.
imagery,
But when they lay it out and like, here's the person that's dead and all, and you're like, oh, it's a little too much. I get that. I totally get that.
So how old were you when you made this decision to leave, not go to law school and move to LA?
So let's see. I moved out here and I graduated in 2003. I totally just told you my age. And so it was, I moved out here February of 2004. So I was 23 years old. Wow.
So
23 years old.
A lot of our listeners are young women, probably going through what you went through back when you were 22, 23. What would you say to someone who's about to make a career decision and they have no idea where to go or what passion to follow? Maybe they don't even have a passion. Like, why did you take that leap? Or did you just feel like, I can always fall back on law if it doesn't work out? Like, what was your thought process?
Yeah, I mean, I think, first, like, they were like, hey, we're going to pay you to travel around the world and do the best things that you could do, and we're going to shoot in high definition. And so it was kind of hard to say no to. So I was like, wait, you're going to pay me to travel around the world? Like, so that was like, that. I mean, that definitely, played into it. But I think the advice that I would give to someone is you hit the word. You said passion, right? Like, so ideally anything that you can do if you are passionate about it. And I think, you hear it and people say it's cliche, but like that is the number one, I think, most important thing is to love what you do. Because if you are not happy, it can take a toll on you. But if you actually like and have passion about what you do, it doesn't feel like work. And you can do that every day and love what you do. And so, but if you don't know what you want to do and you're still figuring things out, I think that's what's so great about being so young is having, that ability to try things out. I didn't know if this was going to be something that I wanted to do, but I said, you know what? I was willing to just take that risk and see, so I mean, it's tough to figure out what you're going to do for the rest of your life, right? Like who knows that ever, right? I mean, really so I don't think put too much pressure on yourself either to figure that out. Like, I think, I guess, the way I could compare it is like when I first started in the business, I would, if I even found any of that footage, I would cringe because I'm like, I didn't know what I was doing. And so you learn so much as you go. And so my point being with that is that, you don't really know what you do or don't like until you try it. You can only get better as you do more things, spend more time doing it. And so I think what's great about being someone that's out of college or in college or, is that you have so many possibilities, but try to figure out what you love. Like, what is it that if you're flipping through a magazine and there's an article on this, like, what is it that catches your attention? What are you into? And find a way to make that be your job, right? I mean, you guys can speak to passion and loving what you do. I mean, I know that sounds so, I know that people are like, just got to love what you do. And it's easier said than done because you don't always have those opportunities. But we're in this world now where you can make your own opportunities. You can create a YouTube channel on something you love, or you can, I really believe that, you can kind of write your own ticket and figure out what you love and follow that. I know that's, again, I feel.
But it's not, I think the problem that people find is even if they know what they may love, they have so much outside noise saying you can't make money on that. I mean, we just discussed like video gaming, right? Where like once upon a time, there was no career in video gaming. It was like, what are you doing? You're wasting your time. And then finding how you then make money or it becomes a profession can be difficult.
Sure.
But the one thing which seems very evident for you is that you don't have much fear. And if you do have fear, you don't listen to it.
Yeah.
Like you swim with sharks, you go with alligators, you jump off cliffs, like all these things. Do you talk yourself out of it, or you're like, it's just part of my personality that doesn't focus on the fear?
Yeah, I guess I would say it's probably more of a personality thing in that, maybe it's just like, in the moment, who wants to jump with alligators? I'm like, okay, cool. Like maybe it's not thinking too much, which, could get you in trouble, but it's kind of just being willing to say, okay, you know what? If this is the way I'm going out, then this is, I'm just kidding. Like if the shark's going to eat me, I guess that's the way it was supposed to happen anyway. No, but
good story to tell.
So yeah, make sure you guys are rolling. I always would say like, make sure you guys are rolling on this, because if I let's be so like that video on YouTube that's viral of girl gets eaten by the alligator or whatever.
It'd be a great video clip.
You wouldn't watch it. You could listen to it.
Yeah,
But, here's like, it's so tough, right? So people who, are told, oh, you can't make money doing this or that is, I would say is find someone that's doing what you love and try to pick their brain or doing, if someone's being successful in a similar parallel, try to emulate them and figure it out, right? And maybe use what they're doing and what they're doing for success and try to use that in your area.
So it's like a guidebook.
Yeah, I mean, I always, for me, it's like, there's a saying that I use, and this is going a little off topic here, but when I speak to kids that are interested in doing what we do, or when I get hired to go speak at a university, I say, in this world, if you really want to make it, you always hear people say, oh, it's who you know. But it's not that. It's who knows you. Because you can know whoever, but if it's who knows you. And so what I always take from that is leaving a lasting impression and so that my goal every time I worked with someone is I want them to walk away and say, I want to work with her again.
Yes.
And where that comes from though is being, and I tell people, being willing to work hard, like being willing to carry the tripod and offer to carry the lights. And if someone's, a PA, like being willing to say, hey, you know what, I think we can do it better. Let's do it some more. Like, just being a good person. I know.
I 100% agree with you. In the entertainment industry, especially, you get so many divas and people who feel like, well, no, I'm not going to do that. That's not my job. That's a personal assistant's job or something like that. But that's when you start like treating people badly. That's when people don't want to talk to you. They may be scared of you, so they treat you nicely, but behind your back, you don't know what they're saying. And so I remember Lisa and I talked about this in one of our first Sheroic episodes, but I'm normally a like very calm, nice person. But when you act like that to people who've been working around divas, then they start to take advantage of that. And so like certain makeup people or hairstylists will start to treat me less because I'm not acting as crazy. It's the weirdest thing.
Isn't that so funny that you hit the nail on the head on something with that?
Yeah.
Because there's someone that I had an experience with, and I'm not going to do names, but it was someone that was very not nice to me. And our paths interacted in I never met this person. I've still to this day have not really talked to this person. But anyway, but it always blew my mind because I would talk about it a little bit and they were like, you do realize like the squeaky wheel sometimes gets the oil. And I was like, but I don't want to be that squeaky wheel. So I don't care, even if that's what it's going to take to like I'm not going to be I don't want to be the squeaky wheel. I don't want to be the person that behind people's back is someone saying, oh, that person's terrible to work with, or that like I don't so anyway, I know that's like a little thing, but it's something that it's interesting that is something that people say, well, maybe you have to be like that to get more attention or more in the business. And I was like, I don't that doesn't make sense to me. I don't like that, but it's unfortunate because there's some truth to it.
Yeah, and I think Lisa, you're the one who told me that, well, then you probably just shouldn't work with those types of people. Like, the people who are only giving you attention because you're being mean to them are not the type of people that you want to be around. Like, work with people who appreciate your gratitude, appreciate how nice you are. And so when I'm on set, like, I will help carry a tripod or a light, or, like, if someone's, like, thirsty, I'll go. And it doesn't matter if I'm talent or not. I don't care. I'm just another person. We're all on this team trying to make something happen.
All put our pants on, they say, or our dresses on the same way.
Our heels on, doesn't matter. But, yeah, that's what I found was really interesting. One one of the first times I was on like a big like magazine shoot, and there were other, you know, quote unquote stars on there, and I could just see how different people were acting. It just made you feel really nasty. I didn't want to be around that.
And like you said, people do talk about it, and so they remember people that, and so that's my. I always wanted to. You want to. I don't know. I come from just like the be good to people and people be good to you, and
but it comes
I stick
across.
with that.
It comes across in everything you do. Same with you, Cass. I mean, the first time, obviously, we worked together and Cook and Clean with Quest, and I was like, this woman is so incredible. She's the least fussy person I've ever met, and probably at that time the biggest celebrity I'd ever really met or worked with. And I was like, this woman is amazing. Like, she's got a huge following and is like the least diva person I've ever met in my life. And then we had a guest on called Jenn Brown. And
that's when I first met Jen, by the way.
That's right.
It was through Lisa, so this is all connected.
So literally, it's like, that's the first time I met you. Evan Dollard, who was a ninja warrior, said, you've got to meet this woman. She's going to be perfect for the show. You come in, I'm like, you're like a ray of sunlight. Like, literally, you came on and you two together, it was so much fun that day of shooting. And literally, like, those emotions, it's not like I said to myself, I'm definitely going to work with these two again. It was like, I love these guys. And that emotion stayed with me, so that when a podcast comes up and Cassie's like, should we do it? I'm like, of course we're going to do it. Like, you're amazing. And then when we're thinking of guests, you're like one of the first people that came to my mind, because you were a ray of light. Now, if you'd come on that set and you were totally mean and a diva and, you know, a bitch, and you would like, I never would have thought of you for this. So it does pay off in the long run. And I think that that's how you eventually bring value, because the things you do so authentically, and you really are yourself. And I think that's why you're so captivating. And I think that's why you've been as successful as you are, and you're able to go in all these different arenas and really kind of kill it and come in, and people take notice. You know, and then so let's take your next career then that you step into. So you, for ESPN, you become a host, like one of these like most male dominated professions I could possibly ever think of. And you step in. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, it was once I did the travel stuff, and then I worked at E for a little bit, and you know, nothing with me when I was at E. It was an interesting thing, but I kind of like, I'm not a gossipy person, and so it was a tough job for me, because I did it where I just had to do breaking news of like gossip, right? It's like, oh, so and so is divorcing so and so, or so and so is doing this, or so and
ate a French fry.
Yeah, I mean that's and you talk about, so when I went to ESPN, right? Like that was the one thing I thought was so interesting.
Is that why you left E then, because you didn't like the gossip
so what
aspect
happened was
and
I had done a job, and I got recommended. So HBO didn't have Inside the NFL anymore, and it was moving to Showtime. And so when they decided to move that, a producer the new executive producer of Inside the NFL wanted to add a female to the show. And so my name got recommended from someone that I had worked with.
Cool.
And I got the call, and they said, we'd like to have you be the first, you know, the female correspondent Inside the NFL. I'm like, I call my agent, I'm like, get me out of here. and it was like, because I was in a multi-year deal with E.
Wow.
And I just said, but you know what? I had a real talk with them, and I just said, listen, you deserve someone who wants to be here, who eats, sleeps, and breathes, you know, what you guys are about, and you know, that aspires to be, you know, Julianne and Ron Sick on the red carpet, or Ryan Seacrest. I'm like, Ryan Seacrest, I actually would want to be that. He does a lot of awesome big things, but like, you know, and I was like, you deserve, like, I like sports, and I know I like sports, and so it was just, and they were like, they understood. They're like, okay, and they let me out, and that's how I ended. So then I went to Showtime. I was there for 2 years, and then I ended up at ESPN. But it is an interesting, and you talk about appearance, right? And so, like, it's just, you know, you go on, and and you talk about social media and everything, and it's like people will, and I know you guys did a show about it, right? And just like sometimes people and how they are and the internet, and it is really interesting how you, like, what I'm wearing or how I look have anything to do with what I'm talking about, like have anything to do with sports, but like that's what people will comment on, or that's what they'll, you know, and it's unfortunate being in this industry as a female where it's definitely gotten better, but it is, you know, that is still a thing that's like, you know, talked about, like, oh, like how big your forehead is. I have a big forehead, and yes, thank you. You know, like, okay, but how does that have to do with my ability to ask questions at halftime from the coach? You know, So, but it's I guess, I'm encouraged by the improvements we've been seeing in terms of women in our industry and sports, that is. And there's been some amazing people that have like blazed, set the trail on fire for us and got it going. And so I'm encouraged, but there's still a long way to go in our business.
Have you ever been criticized for how you should look on camera, like either by a manager, an agent, or maybe your producer or director or something?
Well, I've actually never talked about this. I won't say. So I was on a show that I no longer had after I was pregnant. That, it was a show that I was on that I very much loved and very much enjoyed. And after I had my first son and we were supposed to go back to film, so I was not going to probably be in, the same physical shape, no excuses. Just, sometimes we have to make a change. And, it was something that, so that does happen. That is a real, part of our
And you don't
television.
think that would ever happen if it was a guy?
Well, that's a tough one. I don't know. I can't say for sure. But, having had just had a baby and, guys don't,
They don't
have babies. So,
unless they're male seahorses.
Yeah.
I do wish for that.
It's something that I guess it's I wish it wasn't the reality.
Yeah.
I wish that what I look like had no bearing on what I was actually saying or the job that I do in other people's eyes and perception, but it was just someone higher up. I know that the producers fought for me to stay. I know the exec on the show fought for me to stay. And it was just like, we can get someone.
So it was literally because of your physical appearance?
It was never shown. It was never said. So,
but
it was never said. Yeah. Like we had just done a great show. No feedback of anything that I could do different. We had great ratings. Everything was wonderful. Everything was great. I actually didn't even tell them that I was pregnant when I filmed the show, because it was towards the end, and I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna. It was towards the end of the show and the beginning of my pregnancy, and so I was like, I didn't even tell them, and then of course I was like, oh, I'm pregnant. A wrap party, and there I am, like 6 months pregnant. And, look, it's nobody's ever, that would be like, that's illegal, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't say that.
That's illegal.
No,
but I will say that I know other women that I've talked to in sports that have had those same situations, that have gone on maternity leave, that have come back and their jobs are not there. I know several women that have had that happen.
So I'm going to ask you, it's going to be a difficult question.
Yeah.
You're very attractive. So do you think that if that wasn't the case initially, right, because we're saying like looks sadly matter, but do you think that that's partly actually why you were hired in the first place? So it's almost like it's helped you that looks matter, but at the same time it can hinder you in the other way.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think that as a whole, for the most part, the women that you see these days in their sports female roles, and I hear from the women who are being phased out are being replaced for the younger. Right. And I don't, you don't see that with the men, right? Yeah. Like you don't see that with the men. It doesn't matter if someone's got a beer belly or if they have bald hair, or, they're there because of their knowledge and of their, how great they are at their job. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that actually, continues to translate for the women, in that at the end of the day, we're speaking and we're knowledgeable about sports and we ask good questions, or whatever our role might be, we're hired because if you're not, I will say, like, if you don't know your stuff nowadays, like, it's hard, there's so many girls out there that want to be in the sports business and they go to school and they know their stuff. Like, I don't think you can be successful and just be like they call like a pretty talking head. Right. There's so much competition now, but you would think that, again, you're knowledgeable, and so why does it matter what you look like? Why does that have an impact on the role that you play? Why, what does it matter if I'm got a little bit of extra 10 pounds on me that I'm still losing from my baby weight, or, things like that.
More knowledgeable now, probably, right, in sports, because every year you're learning and you're growing.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's kind of
like, yeah, you're wondering, is there this like finite amount of time that you have in this business? And that's why I have people that are like, I'm struggling with having a child, is when's that right time? And I say, listen, no, like, one, you're never ever going to feel like it's the right time. You're never going to be like, now's the time to have a baby. Right. So do what's best for you. And because here's what I will say. Everything happens for a reason, and I do believe that. And while I lost that show allowed me to be with my boys and my son. And then I, ended up getting pregnant again pretty on accident, pretty quickly thereafter. And like, I always say, like, looking back now, like, there's not a moment that I can't look back and go, oh, that's why that happened. I feel that every single thing has led me to be exactly where I am right now. And so I wouldn't change it. It's just the reality. It's something that I don't know how it changes. I don't know.
I think it changes by people like yourself talking about it.
Yeah.
Right? It's you can't beat someone over the head for believing something, but you can talk about it in a very articulate way and express like the situation, and then I think try and change people's minds or let them see a perspective that right now they're not seeing.
Yeah.
Because you're so knowledgeable about sports, right? So I don't want people to think that that's why you were hired is for your beauty, but it's like you had the whole package in a sense. But your knowledge only got better from there. So it's very sad that as you got older, as you went deeper into the career and probably got to know a lot more, that now just because of your physical body changing, only natural, right, to have a child, that now that's what people focus on. Like, never mind the fact that you've grown stronger as a woman mentally and, know more about the sport. It's like that sad thing that they pinpoint. But I think that the beauty in it is that you now can talk about it and you now can say, we need to change this. This isn't right. Because we've spoken a lot about like what we do about our careers, about having children, about, do we have to make a choice? Is it one or the other? Because is there then that knock-on effect? And it's sad that we have to think about that.
Yeah, no, for sure. It is sad. And that's, I feel for that's even a situation. Like, why should you have to worry about going on maternity leave and losing your job?
It's crazy because you are making a human being. Like, this is kind of amazing.
Anything more important than that? I mean,
you're contributing to the human race. But like, I just saw something on the news the other day. This reporter who was not a reporter, a meteorologist or something. She was pregnant, wearing this like cute red dress showing her belly, and one of the viewers like wrote into the news station and said, "You're so disgusting. Like, get off like the TV channel or something because I can't look at you." Like, why has it become that where pregnancy is not a beautiful thing? People can't even stand to look at it, and even post-pregnancy, hey, I'm like 5 to 10 pounds heavier, like whatever, and people don't want to hire you for a job because of that. Like, that's really weird to me, and it's not fair.
It's tough. But I will say to those, I don't want to seem so dreary, right? Like, and say there is I think you can't let the fear of that like help you like make a decision, and don't be scared, because every situation is unique. And I would say fight for yourself too, and fight for yourself. I mean, I remember when it all went down and I had a magazine reach out and they were like, "We want to run this story," and I was just like, nah, and that was another thing too, because like, while it would have been, I don't want people to feel sorry for me, but also it's like a thing of like, well, do you want to be known in the industry that's like the person that's calling out a show that, or something like that? Because then there's also the backlash of something like that. So I've never talked about it, and it's something I have peace with it, because I'm like, oh, that's exactly what was supposed to happen. While it was tough and something that I love doing, that's fine. Because you know what? I had my son. I spent so much time with him. I got another job, and then I have my other son. Like, and it just all works out. So I will say, like, when it comes to making a decision about having a child, and don't let the fear of what could happen with work or fear of if you're ready, like, do what's best for you, and it'll all work out.
Did you think about that? Like, about what that would do to your career? Did you have that discussion with your husband?
I didn't think I would lose a job over it. No, I didn't think that it would. I didn't think that, I guess I was a little bit naive, because now I've learned a lot about it, and I've seen it a lot more. And in talking with some friends in the industry, and we're all of that age now where friends are having babies. I have a friend that just now like went on maternity leave, and she went back. They said, no, you're not being fired. It was part of the ESPN layoffs, and they said, come back. She came back, brought her twins and her family, and then they Next day, fired her.
Wow.
And so, like, just things like that is just, it's tough stuff. It's tough. But you know what? It shouldn't make it, you shouldn't let that inform your decision to make that.
Did you think about, like, so one thing we talk about is, like, how do you put so much time into it and then decide, okay, I'm going to have a baby? Did you feel like you had to, would there be any sacrifices? Did you discuss that with your husband? Like, how do you split your time?
Sure.
Like, that's one thing that I personally battle with, is that, you know, I've been married for 15 years. Like, I spend a lot of time with my husband, and then the rest of the time I spend working. So now having this third entity, in essence, it's like, where do I put my time? Where do I put my energy? Like, where is my passion? Because you have a passion for your family and a passion for your job. Like, did you process that? Did you guys talk about it?
I think it's probably going back to what you talked about earlier, of just kind of making a decision and being like, it's going to be okay. Like, not dwelling on like the what ifs of how it's going to affect. I think, you know, I grew up, so my parents, like I said, they were Olympic gymnastics coaches. So they were training. So they were gone. Like, I remember my dad would wake me up and he would make me breakfast in the morning. And then I would ride my bike to school, and then I came home to like my babysitter because my parents were at work, and then they were working till like 9. I just remember like I would kiss them before going to bed, and that was, you know, and then we spent the weekends together. So like I grew up seeing parents really have to work hard to follow their dream. And so I always just thought, like, with me and my husband, like, we'll figure it out, you know, we'll figure it out. And so I remember when I got pregnant with the first one, I think he got the call to do Hunger Games. So to do the Mockingjay, the last two. My husband's an actor, and so he got the call, and he's I don't know, maybe he was already, I think he got, no, this was for The Expanse. This is the show he's on now, because I remember, because it wouldn't have been the Hunger Games, because he was only filming for like a month. That wouldn't have been crazy. The Expanse is a show he films for 6 months in Toronto. Wow. And we were pregnant, and he got the job offer. And I remember when they were like, you should probably call your wife and ask her about this. And I remember him calling. I'm like, for sure you should go do that. That's amazing. You know what I mean? And they're like, he's going to be gone for like 6 months. Do you realize that? And I was like, this is what he, like, if it's his show he wants to do, go do it. And so, I think we just always knew we would just figure it out. Like Nash, I think in his first year of life, that's my son, the 2.5-year-old, he was on like 60 flights. Like I would take him with me. My mom would come with, and we would go, and like I would go travel and do some stuff. At that time, after he was born, I was working for NFL Network, and we were doing that, and he was going with me to do NFL stuff. Now we have a great like nanny that helps me, and so like you just kind of you figure it out. You figure it out. I feel like, you know, you're not going to have all the answers. And I tell my friends, they're like, when did you know when is a good time? I'm like, you're never going to feel like there's a good time. You just go for it. And then you'll figure it out. It all works out.
But someone on the other end of that is going, I've got a kid. I can't fly. My husband's working 6 months. What am I going to do? Like, I'm all by myself, right? So it's that mentality of like taking that plunge.
I think if you want to go to the mental side of things, and me personally, and how I've always been that believer is like you control every situation and how it affects you, because you control how you feel and think about something. And so for me, where it could be like, oh my God, my husband's going to be gone, and then I have to do this and I have to do that, and dwelling on it, like I tend to focus on the positive. I feel like if you have an approach, like, because ultimately at the end of the day, you 100% control how you feel about anything. You have that possibility. If you take, it could be the worst thing in the world, but if you can find a little bit of that silver lining of something, if you can focus on that, like you're in control of your own feelings and thoughts. And so that's I guess I'm not the one to think about, I'm more of the optimist. Like I'm not the one that will focus on what could be wrong or what is bad. I like to focus on the positive and what's good. And that keeps me going.
I like that. You know, you've heard of the glass being half empty or half full, right? But I saw another quote that said, you all are missing the point. The glass is refillable. So I like that. It's kind of like taking chances.
That's a whole other, I really like that.
But I'm going to ask you something that one of our fans asked, which is, as a mom, and you have 2 kids now, one in...
He's one, Rhett is 1 and Nash is 2.5.
Okay. Wow.
You pumped those out.
I know. Since I've seen you, I've had 2 babies.
Yeah,
like last, right?
Babies,
I know.
which she doesn't even look like it. But how do you find time to work out? Like, that's a big question we get all the time.
Yes, that is, you know, you just have to do it. Like you literally have to say, so I have found that I am not incredibly disciplined when it comes to when you get busy and you've got kids and you've got job and you've got work. So I have found personally, I have a trainer or I take a class. I like to be on the hook. So that for me is, so in other words, if I am paying a trainer or if I have signed up for class pass or if I have called and booked that Pilates session, if I don't show up, I have to pay for it. And so that's the way it's like I'm on the hook and I just say I have a standing like Monday, Wednesday, Friday with my trainer. And that's it. Or, I've also found ways like you can really, with your kids. Like I actually did a thing. I was on Dr. Oz once because he had me on to talk about how losing the weight after having the first one. And it was so funny because he had me on to talk about it, but I was pregnant with my second one, which I thought was really funny. And so I had Nash out there, but I was like showing exercises. I was like, look, he's like 25 pounds. Like he's like a dumbbell. Like I was showing how Dr. Oz and I were literally doing squats. Like he had a baby, like a baby doll. And I had Nash. And I'm showing him how to do like squats, and I was doing like bicep curls with them and like twists and so. And I was like, if you don't, not everybody, like if you don't have the money to afford a trainer or if like, but there's so many great options now with like you can watch on YouTube and do Miss Cassey over there. So it's just kind of taking that time of setting it out in your day and not deviating and really allocating it, because I found that if I didn't do that, if I didn't say I'm going to commit to doing this for an hour a day, that I know I'm going to do at least something. I always found with me, I would always talk myself out of it. Like, oh, if I didn't have that standing, like, oh, I'll do it later. Oh, I've got to do these phone calls. Or, oh, no, I'll do it. And then all of a sudden the day would go on and then it would be, oh, it's 8:00. I just put the kids to bed. Yes, I'm so tired, So, and that's what I learned about myself. And that's also too, is like knowing yourself, right? And knowing where your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. Like, I'm not good unless I have a regimen. Like I'm on the hook. I've got to go. And it's a standing appointment. And that's how I did it, at least.
I 100% agree. Like I also use ClassPass and I love signing up for new classes because it means, I got to be here at 6:30 tonight. Like I'm not going to miss it. And I hate being late to things. So, but that's still something I have to work on. You know what's really weird? I'm never late to my fitness classes, but I'm late to everything else. Like I take fitness that seriously.
Wow.
Like
because I think of you as notoriously late for things.
That's right.
Anytime we were in, I was like, I've got a 5-10 minute leeway. She's going to be late in a way.
That's so bad. I have to work on that. Okay. But I'm never late to my fitness classes.
So I've got to book a fitness appointment with you.
Yes, actually. Oh my gosh. It's so bad that you think I'm notoriously late. But it's actually very true.
So don't worry. I'm always late as well. So I kind
And by the way, she said like 5 or 10 minutes. Like 5 or 10 minutes late is not that bad.
15 to 20.
Well, I do have this new habit now that if I'm going to be late, I'll let you know.
I appreciate that.
I do like that because Waze now, right, tells you exactly. I'm like, okay, by Waze, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be 7 minutes late. They're like 7. I'm like, 7. It literally gives me the exact amount.
But I love it with her because I'm like, oh God, I'm 10 minutes late. Oh, it's Cassey. She's going to be another 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It makes me panic less, so I actually don't mind it at all.
That's so bad.
But go back to like knowing yourself, right? Kind of knowing what that trigger is to get you there. But what do you do in situations where things come into conflict? Because we talk about that all the time. Like we've got businesses and then our partners and responsibilities. And then when it comes into conflict, what do we do between working out or work, right? And especially with you when it's almost like there's that massive overlap between your work is your workout and your workout is your work. And how do you like either separate the two or like how do you make a decision when it comes to it? So for you, if it was between you have to take care of your kids, you're working out, your career, your husband, like how on earth do you like go, okay, this is my first priority? Do you sit there and kind of number them or anything like that?
I haven't. I don't think I've never gone through and actually like prioritized it in my mind. I mean, like it's husband, kids, like, that's, always how I kind of like my family is important. And so I think if there was anything I would want to make sure that's not lacking or suffering would be first and foremost my family, because that's the most important thing to me. And then when it comes to career/fitness, I will say, here's one thing that I do that's not the greatest of all things is that a lot of times I pack my workout clothes when I go to do like, so we have a Bellator show, right? So that's what I do now, MMA. And so we'll go and we'll be gone. I'll be gone Wednesday to Saturday. So it's like 4 days. And I'll take my workout clothes, but I do find that if I don't really lock in that, work will trump that, because I'll be like, I just need to do some more studying, or I need to do some more writing, or I need to do this. And because there's always, I feel like that's the one thing, like my mom does this all the time. She's like, I've got so much stuff to do, I can't do that. I'm like, you're always going to have stuff to do. There's our list. Does your to-do list ever go away? No. Mine doesn't. No. There's always stuff that's always adding. So so the way I look at it is, unless I make a conscious decision to make that time, there's always going to be things to do. There's always more research I can do. There's always more writing I can do. There's always more polishing for my job. So I take my clothes, I make a point to do it, even if it's just doing like squats in my bedroom for 10 minutes just to get my heart going. But I used to, when I would pack those clothes, and I never would touch them. I never touched them. And then it came to a point where I just didn't pack them at one point. And then I was like, okay, this is not good. Then I did that whole little self-realization of saying, I need to just say, okay. And I had have a timer on alarm on my watch that 11 a.m. Yeah. I do it. And I'm like, okay, what do I have time? Okay, 30 minutes. I'm going to just go down and run on a treadmill. Or I'm going to just do air squats in my room because I only have 15 minutes. Things like that. So
what is that self-realization look like?
Right.
It was like, hey, I'm not physically fit where I want to be. And why is that? It's because I'm not committing to what you need to do to be there. And so I think it was that moment. It was, and also when you have babies, there's, everything goes out the window. I used to being a collegiate athlete, I used to be able to work out, I'd eat bad or have the fun. We'd go on vacation and come back, and it's like, okay, week and a half in the gym and you're back to your normal weight and you feel good. And then as you get older, but then also throw babies into the mix, it's not the same. It's not easy get back to where your old self was. And so I think there's also that element where you're kind of okay, the things I was doing or what I'm doing isn't working. So, and you do want to, for me, not just I don't think about working out to the career things what we talked about, not having that job opportunity. Well, I do realize in the back of my head, I guess that you still have to be there with that. But for me, it's about how I feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
I work out for how I feel, because I'm going to be more, if I feel good about the way I look, then I'm going to be more confident on TV. I'm going to be better at my job. I'm going to be a better mom. I'm going to be a better wife because I feel good. I know that when I don't feel good, you kind of are, you're in a funk or so.
Yeah.
For me, I do again for my family and for my job. The fitness side of things is important because it's how I feel, which then lets me be a better mother or be more confident on TV or feel good about myself.
You're 100% so right. We say this all the time. It's about how you feel, not how you look. And by the way, if you're feeling so confident inside, you're going to, what's the word? Really exude that confidence, and then it becomes a cycle that you feel you feel good, you look good, you want to look even better and feel even better. You just keep going. Yep. And that the addiction is where the progression comes into play. And it may not even be progression of your ab definition being more, but your strength and being able to lift more weights, that's cool. Because as kids, we learn skills like gymnastics or whatever, and you can get better, you can do a cartwheel better. But as adults, I feel we kind of stop learning in that sense. Mentally, we learn new skills, technically we learn new skills, but do we ever go out and try to do a handstand or try to learn something? I feel that's what's missing from adulthood. And I remember when I first made the transition from elementary school to middle school, and they took away the monkey bars and all those things and the swings, and I was like, what am I going to do now? I don't know. It was kind of weird. I didn't like walking around and just talking to friends with your backpacks on. I just feel that element of being able to physically learn kind of gets taken away as you grow up, and I don't really know why.
I never thought about that. As kids, it's not about the weight or the look, but it is about how many pull-ups can you do, or let's do some sprints and how many laps. So it's almost competitiveness within yourself, but they've made it fun. But as you get older, almost that fun has been pulled out of it, and it becomes about the looks and all of that. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah. So I feel they need to put monkey bars back in middle school.
For sure.
Because also when you get older, you have more weight to hold on. So monkey bars are they just start to get really, really hard.
This is really tough. I remember it being so much easier. sure.
But then it was so easy to be active when you're a kid. Like recess was about like playing handball and doing all those kinds of things. They just like take it away. Anyway, I'm like totally going off on a tangent.
No, I loved it.
No, I'm right there with
Just gave me an
you.
insight that I never really like thought about.
Yeah, well, it is scary. Like I'm on the board of a charity called Kids in the Game, which is about getting kids the opportunity to play sports, and how we've lost, like you said, physical education in schools and after school activities and all of that. It's just like going further and further away for opportunities for kids. So, and then just the cost now to play sports is also. So you're speaking my language, girl. I've been a big champion for all of that.
I just did this post the other day on Instagram, and it was talking about how I, as a kid, hated PE. I despised PE because because it was all about competition. I never wanted to be picked last on teams. I usually was. I didn't want to be the last girl running the mile. I was kind of close. And it was always that anxiety of not wanting to be the worst one, and that's all I cared about. But that didn't mean I didn't actually like fitness. I mean, hello, my fitness is my career now. But it was about
Who's laughing now?
Right?
Yeah, but it's about how can we make fitness fun for kids? It's not just one type of fitness. If there was an ability for me to pick dance or I don't know, just something, even Pilates, as a kid, I would have loved that, because it's you against you, not you against someone else. And I don't know, the PE just wasn't my thing. But I feel like if we were able to help kids learn that fitness can be fun at such a young age, that's how we tackle obesity. In addition to teaching them about healthy food in more realistic ways, not through books and people yelling at you and telling you you need to eat carrots, but teaching kids how to cook, or giving them a skill or something like that. Make it
teaching
fun.
kids how to cook is I think that is a great so having kids, right? So we try to do no sugar, right? So my husband and I have this philosophy about sugar, because he's my mom always wants to give my son cookies. We're like, don't give him cookies. He doesn't even know what a cookie is. You know what I mean? We're not it's not like we're gonna be those parents that never he's gonna obviously have cookies and ice creams and things like that as he gets older. But our philosophy is that he doesn't know to want it, right? So he likes eating a banana. I'd much rather him eat a banana or something rather than have sugar. But so I started, so when he would have a cookie, by the way, I would see my kid turned into another person. He was bananas, bouncing off the wall, running around. And so I was like, you see, this is you see, Mom, and she's still he still goes to her house. He's like, cookies. I'm like, how does he even know that there's cookies in that? But anyway, it's a whole nother story. But here's the thing, and I just about the whole, because it blows my mind. And since you have an audience, and it was something that I had never looked into, is you look on a kid's yogurt, right? We tried. I felt like we were giving him healthy yogurt, right? We get a Greek organic yogurt, and then you look on it, right, and it says sugars, and so you see it, and it's a little pouch of yogurt, and it's got 16 grams of sugar, and I never knew what that was, right? I never knew, because as they didn't know, they don't put what percentage of your daily value sugar is, right? Because everybody overeats so much sugar, they can't really put that on there. So anyway, by the way, I'm not a medical person, but here's the thing. Do you know what? So I didn't know what that equaled. I was like, what is a gram of sugar? What does that mean? So 1 teaspoon of sugar, of granulated sugar, is 4 grams. So in that 16 gram of sugar little yogurt pouch that I thought I was being healthy giving my son, it had equivalent to 4 teaspoons of sugar, because it was 16 divided by 4. And I would never hand my kid 4 teaspoons of sugar. Now, granted, there are fruit, and so there's natural sugars, things like that to think about and consider. But I don't think people know what grams of sugar really means. I don't know, that blew my mind.
Yeah.
Sorry.
They're not taught that in school, which is a problem.
Yeah. So anyway, we digress. I don't know. Yeah.
No, but we're so passionate about food and fitness.
Yeah. I don't know. I get, I kind of have this new, when you become a mom, you're I'm raising this human. I'm responsible for the decisions he's going to make now, and teaching him and educating him and his body and health and all of that's a big responsibility. And so that's where I'm at now, is I'm in this discovery of I want to be the best mom and raise the best little boys that I can and give them the best opportunity to be whatever they want to be. And so that's where I'm kind of it's good to research and learn. I think a lot of us just kind of are okay.
Learn, and if you decide to eat it, eat it, right? At least know about
That's
it.
why I was I'm going to at least educate myself to understand it. But
So the one thing I selfishly want to talk about is about being selfish, because this is one thing that I struggle with. So Tom and I have spoken endlessly about having children. We've actually made a conscious effort to conscious decision to not have children.
Okay.
And we've gone through every scenario. We've spoken about it endlessly, and that's just a decision we've made.
Sure.
But the one thing I always find so interesting and so I respect so much is women who are able to do the two, have kids and have selfish time, because you going back to feeling good about yourself, and then that reflects back as being a good mother and a good wife and a good at your job. What do you do to take that selfish time, and how do you juggle that with kids and a career?
Yeah, I would say when you asked me about like priorities and what thing does go, I would say the selfish time is probably going to be the thing that's going to be the lowest priority on the totem pole, and so that will be the things that go. But I don't feel a lacking in my life. Like I don't feel like I would say my selfish time is my physical fitness, like going to the gym, or like the one show that we get to watch, like after we put the kids to bed, like maybe like Wes and I really made a point. We said, okay, the kids are a big responsibility, but it's very important because it's a lot of time, it's very consuming and it can take different tolls. Is like we made sure that we always say like we're going to make sure that we still have our alone time and our couple time, and always, because if we aren't there, then we can't be great parents, and then that all, so that's important. That's why I said like before I said like husband, kids, like it's kind of that thing, like because you've got to be great stability force for your children. But so I don't need a lot of me time. I mean, I guess here's the thing. My husband's gone for 6 months out of the year too. So I get to selfishly maybe watch my shows when he's filming after I put the kids to bed. But I think my physical fitness, like that would be like working out and having that time to myself is probably my selfish me time. I like to read. I don't get to read as much. I try to read at night before, like when I'm in bed, that's my thing, as I'll read to kind of fall asleep. But I don't know. I love being around my kids right now. So like if I had to like spend less time with them to have like an extra, like I kind of is like, get my things done, and then all the time is with the kiddos right now. That's cool.
And do you find working as being kind of partly selfish? Like I enjoy this so much. It's kind of having that.
Yeah, I think that's tough, right? Because that's becoming tougher is the leaving, right? Because now the Nash is like, no, mommy, like no airplane, no go. Because we like, is like, I'm going on an airplane, I'm going to work. And while I'm only gone for 4 days, it's still, he's like, no airplane. And so that's tough. But I also, like, I do feel guilty at times because when I get to work, like I'm locked in. And so I'm like there, I'm doing my job. And so like I'll call and try to FaceTime right when I get back to my room after a meeting. Like I try to FaceTime with them one time. But then on show days, like sometimes I don't even get to do that. And they understand, like, well, I don't know if they understand they're 2.5 and 1, but I don't think they fully know every day when mommy calls, but it's tough. Like that's the other thing is like you have to find that balance because I want to be as good as I can and give everything to my job. I want to be a great mother and raise good little humans. And I want to be a great wife, and I want to feel good about myself. And those are things that like you have 24 hours in the day and you want to try to find a way to be all of those things. It is a struggle, but you figure it out.
So it seems like you've almost got these little tactics, because in the stories that you tell, it's like me and my husband in bed before lights out, we watch a cheesy TV show, or when I'm working, I make sure that I have this one moment where I Skype my kids. So kind of having these little things, I think, makes all the difference. And I think some people go so hard in one direction, right? Like they're so all in that they don't think about the repercussions or implementing these small little tactics that enable you to have these beautiful balances.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about it that way, but I would say I am a planner. Like I'm that person, I'm the type A kind of planner. So I guess I have planned out to make sure that I have those things in place so that I don't get lost in just doing like one thing or just spending all your time somewhere, because where we're the viewers of your shows that are like the young teenagers, or where you're really just thinking about yourself. Like you have your different evolution of as you go through life, and
that's true.
You're just thinking about yourself, and then maybe you get married, you have a boyfriend, you get married, then you're thinking about someone else, and then maybe you have kids, and then you have your career, and you still have your soul. You're still you. You still have that individual identity that is still that same person that needs to be fed and feel nurtured as well. So but I guess for me, that's what I guess I've figured out is making sure I have that plan in place of those little nuggets to get so each they like what do they say, like each tank is full in that category, right? Like they the love language, like love tanks they talk about, but I was just trying to correlate that with like each tank, like the husband's happy, the kids are good, relationship, work is good, and then make sure that each thing it's topped off, the tank is full.
I like that.
Wow. Well, Jenn, thank you so much for your wisdom.
This was so much fun.
And
we could just talk for hours, though.
I know,
like,
right?
it flew by.
I was like, is it time? I
know. And also for opening up about the thing that you had never talked about before. I really applaud you for being open about that. And I think it's going to help a lot of women and men in the industry really think about that. Think about judging one another for the way that we look versus for our wisdom and our talent and our skills and our strength, which is what we're trying to battle on the Sheroic podcast. And so thank you for being a Shero.
Oh, my pleasure. This is so much fun. And you guys, I love this. I think it's so great what you guys are doing. And I know it's helping not just women and men, but I mean, this I think is what we need more of to, like you said, educate, spread the word, empower, make people feel good. I'm excited. I'm excited. You guys are doing awesome things.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. We had a blast, and I can definitely see you around too.
I'm in. I love it. Awesome.
Thank you so much. And we normally end the show with looking at camera and saying, be Sheroic. So on 3.
All right.
You ready?
Yes.
Right. And until next time, guys,
be Sheroic. Woo! I love it. Good stuff.